What's going on, everybody? My name is Tamar Turner, and I'm the host of the Down to Business podcast, where the mission is to really provide exposure to businesses, entrepreneurs, and artists all around the world in their respective crafts. And we do so through audio and visual interviews where we come on and we talk about all things from getting into the business to most memorable moments to even some advice that you may give for other business owners and entrepreneurs out there. So if this sounds like something that you would be interested in, we'd love to have you on for an interview. Please be sure to reach out via any social media platform and we'll definitely get back to you. But until then, enjoy this episode. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Down to Business podcast here with Tamar Turner. And I'm sitting alongside a very, very great friend of mine, almost like a brother, basically a family to me. We both grew up together, played baseball from a very young age, then went on to play football, went on to actually go to the same high school. He transferred over. He couldn't stop thinking about me, couldn't stop wanting to be with me. So came over to do that. And then he went on to get a full scholarship to Syracuse, and now he's actually on the Indianapolis Colts where he does his thing as the linebacker there. So, but really just aside from the NFL aside, what he has done since then, he's really got some good things going on, really has a great mission in which he wants to give back not only to the Philadelphia community, but the worldwide community. So I would like everybody just to give a warm welcome or a warm listen to my boy, Zaire Franklin. Zaire, so how you doing today? Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you from, what you got going on?
Appreciate you having me. Like you said, basically grew up together. I'm from Philly. Raised in North Philly, like 23rd and Sedgley. Moved uptown when I was in like middle school or so. We come very similar backgrounds, man. You were basically like raised together.
For sure.
Coming up, I don't know, always got it out the mud and, just kind of watching each other grind throughout all these years. And, we just kind of always been on similar paths. So I guess that's all I really can say about it.
Okay, for sure. Definitely a good intro. Definitely, like you said, I think I spoke a lot of it up for you, and we know each other very well. So moving on today, so we're here to talk about Shelice's Angels. So can you actually just tell us just a little bit about the organization, a little bit about what you have going on, kind of how you established it, and what you would like to do with it moving forward?
Oh, yeah. So Shelice's Angels, I guess to touch a little bit more on my background, I was raised in a single parent home, with just my mother and my grandmother. And both of them, my mom passed away February, my junior year of high school, and then my grandmother passed away in April of that same year. So, Shelice's Angel is just a nonprofit organization that I created to, in their honor. I feel like the whole reasoning behind Shelice's Angels was mainly because, I always felt that, even though I grew up, with, maybe without that father figure in the house, it was the women in my life who I felt like really took care of me and made sure I was always on the straight path and, kind of look after me and help me be successful. They instilled these values in me, throughout my whole life. And I feel like someone as not just as professional athletes, but too many times, I feel like when guys or people become successful out of a hard living situation, it's very easy to give back to the young males like you because they need our help, a ton. There's so many things going on in the world that they definitely need a helping hand, as we, could continue to ascend. But I also look back and I kind of feel like the girls kind of sometimes get overlooked. And so Shelice's Angels is kind of my way of, and my ode is kind of paying, respect through my mom and my grandmom and just kind of reaching back and trying to help young minority women, who are in the same situation, similar situation where I grew up in, not really having much and just kind of just doing my part to kind of help them, make their lives a little bit easier, help them reach their goals somewhere. That's kind of the genesis of where it started.
Gotcha. Okay, and definitely as someone who also lost their mother in 2011, I can definitely agree with that sentiment, and I understand what you're doing. And like you said, it's really hard, especially to grow up in Philadelphia and just watch everything that we went through, whether it be the public school system, whether it be our friends being in and out of the streets, whether it be losing people, whether it be watching your closest friend or a homie of yours get locked up or something like that, and watch their whole life switch around. So a lot of times for us, it was the sports that kind of kept us on track. It was the education. It was your mother, your grandmother were like parents to me. So and vice versa with my mom to you. So it was just like we all kind of kept each other on that track, all kind of kept each other moving straight forward. So okay, you actually answered one of my questions about who this organization kind of targets. So you said the minority women. So with this, is there a certain kind of protocol that you do as far as like who you choose when it comes to the women that you want to give back to, or do you like reach out to different schools, or do you know like different groups tackle your communities? How does that work for you?
Well, actually, Shelice was in somewhat of a transition period. So originally, when I first got drafted, spring 2018, immediately I'm like, all right, man, I want to do something. I want to get back to the kids. I already had strong community service ties, just through my work through Omega Psi Phi when I was at Syracuse, root to the bros. But I already wanted to do something like that, and at Syracuse, we have like a staple event where we give book bags full of like school supplies and stuff to school. So I started there, and I was like, all right, that's what I want to do. I'm gonna find a school, and try to help out. But when you get to talking to the principals and the faculty at these schools in Philly, you find out just basically there's a lot of different problems that they're faced with, and a lot of different things that's going on with them. So the first thing I did before my rookie year even started, I found out about Kenderton. It's a school right off of Broadnary Middle School. Extremely impoverished population as far as the students go. Very high number of homeless kids go to the school. I got school uniforms, and I partnered through French Toast, which was a company that I wore going to school. I used to wear French Toast clothes.
The white shirt, blue pants.
And I actually ended up talking to the CEO and like the vice president of this company, and they were they're shout out to French Toast. They're a company that is extremely driven, and their whole mission is to help the less fortunate, basically. And their whole goal, sometimes you meet the execs of these companies, and they're all very money driven, but these people are very people driven, I would say. And we end up building this bond, and I end up being able to do a similar event out in Indianapolis this past winter. Fast forward to Shelice's Angels, I was talking to one of my business partners, and he was kind of we were just going back and forth about, who I am and the type of imprint I wanted to leave on the communities that I affected as a professional athlete. And he just thought it would be a cool way to give back would be through Shelice's Angels. Hence, that's where the original idea was born.
Gotcha.
So this past year, I always kind of want to do something different. So like this past year, what I did was I went to my old middle school, Conwell Middle School, Russell Conwell Middle School. It's in the heart of Kensington and Kensington, Allegheny. We all know from Philly, Kensington is at the heart and dead center of the opioid crisis. And just even going down there at any times of the day is extremely frightening for anybody from any part of the city. But so what I did was I got a group of young girls through this program called After School All Stars. It's just basically a program for, people like kids who go to this middle school who just, looking for a different program, different things to kind of get involved with at the school, after class. And I had the girls all submit video submissions basically about why they should be chosen. And I chose, I think, either 6 or 7 girls. And we took a day trip to New York City, where we went to the Google headquarters in New York City, got a private tour of the whole facility. And we had a private board of minority women within Google. And they were just basically could shoot them questions. They kind of imparted their wisdom on them. And these are like 8th and 9th grade girls. And I'm not going to lie, like it was for them, but I feel like I got the most out of that little panel that we put together. Like we met some extraordinary women, like who are extremely powerful, extremely like inspiring and ambitious. And I thought just for them to be able to see those type of things, like I guess the mantra behind Shelice's Angels is that how my mom and my grandma always forced us to try to see further than our environment, further than just the football that was in front of us or, the class that we were struggling with at the time. They wanted to see further. My mama always just say, like, you're going to be something, you're going to be something.
Right.
So I just feel like it's important to show these kids, who are from the hood or from the ghetto or whatever you want to call it, that the world is bigger than just Kensington, Allegheny. It's bigger than Ogons. Like there's a whole world out there, and you could become a millionaire doing everything that you want to do. So that was just like an extremely powerful event. Right now, I'm in the middle of trying to figure out what I want to do for 2020. That was kind of my 2019 thing. But yeah, I don't remember the question. But.
So would you say, well, no, you definitely answered the question and much more so, and actually touched on a couple of good points that I had and was going to make. So I know you just said that was kind of your 2019 thing, what you did for them. So looking forward to 2020, you're looking to gear up, looking to do something different. So is this something where you want to do kind of one major event a year? Or are you just trying to give back by any means necessary? I know you said that y'all are kind of in this transition period. So do you have anything kind of like, do you have like a set like goal for yourself or like a set deadline by when you want to have stuff done or when you want to do it, or at any moment when you see any opportunity, whether it be in the off season, whether it be on a bye week, you're just going to try to do what you can while you can?
Oh man, that's a great question. So it's really just trying to be efficient with my time. In the NFL, what a lot of people don't understand, as a professional athlete, from July to whenever the season ends, some people's season just ended on Saturday,
right.
Or if your season ended at the end of the year, December 31st, you are ultra busy. I'm in a facility from 6 a.m. to probably 7:30 at night every day, whether that's rehab, studying, it's a whole bunch of stuff. But when the season ends, you basically have from January to April to go wherever you want, do wherever you want. You basically just have to show up in shape, and ready to play. So the off season is so much free time, and the in season is so little free time. Kind of just got to maximize what's going on. So I say a lot to say is just right now I'm just in a planning stage right now. Meeting with the principals, talking to the school, trying to get in contact with the school district and try to figure out what's my plan of attack. What's the best way to get these ideas down. I just actually met with a bunch of students at Conwell, and I met with basically their student council to an extent, or just a group of kids, who are very well involved in the different things they have going on there and very motivated. And I met with them and I asked them, I'm like, well, what do you guys need? Because I'm almost stumped. So I asked them, like, what can I do to help you guys, basically? And man, they hit me with so many great ideas and stuff I didn't even think about. So Shelice's Angels, to an extent, is starting to lean a little towards, because that was my middle school. I'm always going to take care of them because I felt like, Conwell had such a major impact on my life. So I'm always going to take care of them. But I think, kind of take a little bit of your idea, which you told me the other day, it's just a little bit more. So, Tamar told me just basically, you don't have to have, one set thing. It could be, just based off the time of the year thing. So I'm thinking about just making Shelice's Angels a thing where we just have staple events throughout the year. And, we basically hit them with a couple of variations, but just trying to look for, I guess I'm in a search of an identity, I guess, at this point right now.
Most definitely. And I think that that's important. One, you made two great points there. One, that you talk to the children, you talk to the kids, you found out what they wanted. A lot of times I feel as though some people everybody has a mission, or everybody kind of has maybe like a purpose coming into something or wanting to help. But sometimes, especially with the kids growing up, with the youth today, with the condition of our society, specifically Philadelphia as a neighborhood and a community, we need help in all areas. And like you said, they hit you with stuff that you would have never even thought of. Like like you said, being in your own world, being in your own community, wouldn't have thought that they might have needed this. So I feel like that's important, because sometimes help can come in all forms and variations, but how beneficial it is can really be up to the person who is being helped. And then two, you just talked about how you're developing into that identity. It's okay to not know what you want to do. And that comes with anything in business, whether it be a nonprofit organization, whether it be DJing, as we talked about before, cosmetic company, to not know what you may want to do right then and there. But you build off of that. You go through the trials, you go through the tribulations, you see what worked, what didn't work, what got positive feedback, what you might want to switch up a little bit next time. So, okay, so I definitely agree with that. And I appreciate the shout out. Thank you for letting me know, take my best. So
yeah, I knew you was going to say something.
Yeah, me and Zaire are very similar, just because I haven't told many people this, but I'm also very interested in starting my own nonprofit organization called Future, Forever Uplifting, Transforming and Unifying Resilient Environments. Kind of very similar to, like I said, growing up in Philadelphia, you see a lot of times that public schools specifically need help. I went to school with a lot of people who may not necessarily be in school right now, may not have necessarily even made it as far as we have made it to get to college, to even get to high school, to play those sports, to continue their education. So I really think that education is a staple. It's not always about sports. No knock to the professional athletes doing their thing out there for sure. And it's not always about music. No knocks to the artists and everybody exploring their identities that way. But education can definitely be a powerful tool in all forms. So moving forward with that now, would you say that as an athlete, as someone who kind of made it professionally, you felt like you had an obligation to do something? Or was this something that, like you said, growing up, hearing that message from your mom, hearing that message from your grandmom, you knew, look, I'm going to give back to my community one way or another? I know a lot of people kind of identify with Philly differently. We feel like it molded us. We made it, like you said, got it out the mud, got it out the trenches. So what was your kind of take on that? Was this something you always wanted to do, or was this something that you kind of started to develop more as you got more resources?
Well, I definitely feel like you said, as part of Philly, like growing up with my mom and my grandmom, it was always something like I always wish, when you grow up as a little kid, you hear about all these NFL athletes. So we got, the Eagles all around, but like you never see them.
Right.
You don't, I mean, that's no knock to the Eagles, but it's just because I could tell just from being a professional athlete in Indianapolis, I don't really go out that much. I'm kind of stick to myself, and
right.
I move like the breeze. You probably would never catch me or a lot of my other teammates. So I think it's just important for, I think it's just kind of back to what we were just talking about, just with the kids as a professional athlete. I just felt like when it comes to giving back, I just think it's so important for them to see you, like for them to be able to feel, like to be able to touch you, like, oh, like you're not make believe, like,
right.
Like that's a attainable goal. I could physically reach out and touch Zaire. I could touch Tamar, and these are guys that are from the exact same place I'm from. They're from the same struggles, and they made it, and they're doing what they love to do, and and making a lot of money, and just they have that freedom that I long to have when I get to their age. And so it was definitely something I personally felt obligated to. I think that feeling came from my mom and my grandma, for sure. Just, they always just instilled in me, that empathy, just always, wanting to help somebody out in a situation that may be worse than you. But also, too, just for my fraternity, I felt like, Omega Psi Phi had a major, once again, root to the breast, but I had a major influence on me, when I was in college. I always felt like I wanted to, be involved in community service, but, just one of our, founding principles and mottos is, lift as you climb. And I think that's just so heavy. That's such a heavy statement to me, just like no matter how high up you get, you have to pull somebody up with you. And I think that's so important for, us Black folk and, African Americans in this country to just look out for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And, no matter, and I think if everybody, just kind of turn around and kind of just help pull up somebody, who as they go, and then they pay it forward, where will we be as a people? And I just think more so what you were saying before. I was going to touch something you said before. I think as professional athletes, and this is another main part about Shelice's Angels, and I touched on it a little before on Twitter before, but I feel very passionate about like professional athletes, especially Black men, dealing with other young Black men or Black kids and stuff, to push them and not push them, but just show them that the world is bigger than sports.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like a huge thing, that was really kind of the basis of Shelice's Angels. Always wanted to touch the kids in a way that really had nothing to do with football, show them like, okay, yeah, football gave me these opportunities, but you could be bigger, better than me and doing exactly what you love. Yeah. And, I think it's just, sometimes I think it's a little bit of a dangerous game that we play, just to kind of show young Black men that, all right, look, like, this is the way you make it out through football. And, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with football. Shout out to a lot of my boys who do tremendous football camps. And like my boy Kenny Moore, he does a football camp in Valdosta, Georgia. It's a town he's from. He calls it a day of love. And it's like a huge thing. It's a great event. My boy Darius Leonard, he does one in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. It's a great event. I mean, he take care of his whole city, and it's just, those just examples of guys who, putting their example there in the community and they're touching through football. But just for me personally, I've always wanted to just kind of show kids the different way. Like, for example, like that's why I took them to Google. You go to Google and you see, people just playing on the computers. They playing Dance Revolution.
Oh yeah, I remember the video.
They playing ping pong, and you pull up in Google, you like, man, ain't nobody even working. I'm like, no, these people are getting paid six figures. Like, they getting paid a lot of money to do this, and they just hanging out, or just stuff like people don't. I think as kids, they don't really, young black kids, you don't really think like, oh man, I love playing 2K all day. I can't play 2K. Like, I can't play video games for a living. Yeah. Like now, esports, that's a thing. Mm-hmm. Or everybody always on Snapchat, always on Instagram. There's people making careers out of YouTube. You get what I'm saying? There's people making careers out of these things, and I think a lot of that stuff is just based off of access and vision. And if we as athletes or influencers of our communities could give access to the kids in our community and show them the vision of like, look, this is something you can actually do. We could transcend our entire community.
For sure. And I really just think you hit the nail on the head that you can really, you find something that you love. It doesn't matter what we grow up knowing or to be the. I remember when we used to grow up, the teacher used to ask all the time what you want to be. And a lot of times, more times than not, you heard the firefighters, you heard the police officers, the teachers, the athletes, but you can literally be whatever. You can be somebody who makes a living out of podcasts, be somebody who makes a living off their nonprofit organization. Find your love, find your passion, find your niche. You'll never work another day in your life. And I remember telling Whitney that, the lady who I brought on from my last episode, WG Cosmetics, and big shout out to her for getting that feature by Essence. Really,
shout out to Whit.
You find something that you love, and for her, it was cosmetology. And now look at her.
I think the big thing about that is too, because I remember when I was in 10th grade, my grandmom asked me, she was like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I thought to myself, I'm like, man, well, I love football. I guess I'll be a teacher, not coach football. I told her a teacher, and she like flipped out at me. She was like, "What? You want to be a teacher?" And, at the time when I was younger, I didn't understand what she was like. We just didn't, as I got older and I really think about that conversation, I just understand we didn't understand each other's perspectives. Yeah. You got to think, for my grandmother, my 10th grade year, I had just transferred to LaSalle, which is a private school right outside of Philly. And at that time, it cost $15,000 a year to go to.
Who you telling? I was right there with you.
Yeah, $15,000 to go to. And at the time, like, I had a good scholarship, but we were still paying to go to school. And man, we were struggling. Like, we was hurting bad. And then we were going through it, just trying to get me to school and stuff. And, my mom, my grandmother couldn't work. My mom had been sick. Right. For you guys that don't know, my mom had been sick since I was in 5th grade. She was disabled up until the time she passed. And we have no income coming in, and we paying for me to go to school. Right. And from her perspective, she like, I'm struggling for you to be a teacher. Like, and that's nothing wrong be a teacher, but I think from her perspective, she didn't understand I can only aspire to be what I see. You get what I'm saying? Right. And like, from where I'm from, where we was from, I mean, I didn't know no better. Like, that was the only, a teacher, I could reach out and touch a teacher. I had never, in my mind, making this to the NFL was preposterous because I never seen nobody do it. You know what I'm saying? I never met somebody who did. I never had somebody who actually made it there and look at me like, oh, no, you could do this. You could be better than me. You could reach that goal. And I think, like you said, it's just about what they see. Like, we got to come back to the hood and really be that vision for the kids so they could live and dream and be what they want to be.
Without a doubt. Now, if you could describe your vision for Shelice's Angels, for the nonprofit, for the impact that you want to have, whether it be on the young ladies, on the youth in general, in one word, what would you sum it up to be?
In one word?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I would probably want it to be just inspiring. If I could really sum up my vision, I want to be able to inspire, our youth, I guess, to just to think bigger, to go harder, and just create that next generation of leaders. Whether that's, just like, if I like that trip, if one girl on that trip just got that spark, and now she could see it, and now she could, then my life is made, in my opinion. Like, if I could just influence one of them to just see beyond, the addicts that are roaming their school, right around their schools at Kensington and Allegheny every day. If I could inspire one of them young boys that I saw when I went back to school, and, inspire him to want to work harder in class, to be better than me in the NFL. I met with a young guy Saturday in New York City. One of my good college friends, named Wayne Morgan, has his own young mentorship kind of workout thing going on in Brooklyn called Lights Out Athletics. And one of the young dudes was to me was like, "Yo, I'm gonna see you in the league. I'm gonna meet you in the league one day." I'm like, "That's heat. Like, I love that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, come. Don't meet me there. Don't meet me there. Beat me there. You get what I'm saying? Like, be better than me. You get what I'm saying? And like, if I could just inspire, the next group of leaders, I think that's all I really want.
Most definitely. And I love the vision. And like we talk all the time offline about the ideas that we have. How, like I said, once I found out that you were starting, and you even told me, "Hey, look, think about being on my board for a little bit, get your feet wet a little bit to figure out what you want to do." So like I said, we're going to politic. We're definitely going to get up with each other. So I know you're not the flashiest guy. You're not into all of the social media antics and everything like that. But for the listeners out there, for people out there looking to, whether it be get involved with Shelice's Angels, maybe they know a school or know some women who need your help, or just want to get in contact, you just talk more about your vision. Where can they find you at? Where can they link up with you at?
Okay, so I'm on Twitter and Instagram. Twitter is Ziggy Smalls _ I had that since high school. Ziggy Smalls. Yeah, my nickname Ziggy. That's what people call me. And then on Instagram, it's Zaire Zaire, 2 underscores. You know what I feel me? Like, I be on IG posting all my antics. My fat puppy.
Creed.
Yeah, my boy Creed. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, that's like you said too. Also, just to inspire other nonprofits. Like, I be talking to my teammates all the time about stuff like this too. Just like different ways we can impact our communities. Because you got players. I got players on my team from all over, from Baton Rouge to Inglewood to Seattle to Texas, all Fort Worth, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, man, like, imagine if all of us in our own individual pockets turned around. And that's just from Indianapolis. Right. We got 32 teams, you know what I'm saying? Like,
you
imagine.
Gotta think that's just one league, too.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, imagine what that would be. Like, if we all just turned around and just, and I'm not going to just say throw basketball and football to the side, because we definitely got to be there. Like, I'm always there to mentor and push the young athletes, because that's a different type of grind, and I want them to be ready for that. Right. But at the same time, we could just all turn around and we all inspire somebody from our different cities, or when we got together and from the same city, like, team up. Shout out to my boy Will Parks. I know he plays for the Denver Broncos. He went to Germantown. Mm-hmm. I know he does a lot for gun violence in the city. So, but it's just like, we all could just team up and get together. It could be something crazy.
Most definitely. And I think not only from the impact side and from what you talked about from the different communities, but I just think as like you said, just supporting our people. Mm-hmm. Just I used to preach all the time on social media before I started the podcast. This is one of the sole reasons why I started this podcast, just because I say support is free. Mm-hmm. It costs free 99 to screenshot somebody's post, and it cost me $0 to retweet your recap video. Big shout out to Justin for that phenomenal video he put together, and for following you along and getting those stories and that perspective. But supporting each other is really free. Yes, monetarily is always nice. You can help people develop from there and get things like that, but you may not always have it like that. You may not just be able to come out of your pocket and support. But word of mouth is powerful, especially in today's society. Social media is the tool. I don't even watch the news really anymore. I get everything from Twitter, the trending page, the top 5. I get the top 5 from CNN sent to my phone every morning. Facts. The top 5 articles. I just watch everything. So I definitely think what you're doing is phenomenal.
You actually put me on that app.
The CNN, come on now.
You put me on the top 5
in the morning. Start your morning right.
Get your stay up right. Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, you got me right on that.
So big shout out to you. Big shout out to the Indianapolis Colts organization. Big shout out to Google, Shelice's Angels, everybody. And I really just kind of want to see this impact keep going, because what y'all doing is really monumental. Whether it starts in Philly, whether it starts in Indianapolis, Inglewood, Baton Rouge, whatever you said, Georgia, wherever the case may be, there's always somebody out there that's listening. There's always somebody out there, like you said, aspire to inspire. And we are the inspire. At one point, people were saying we are the future. And so now we can say that about the generation below. He's my little brother, those generations before that. So big shout out to Zaire today for sitting down with me, for giving me some insight to Shelice's Angels. And make sure y'all check out him. I'm not going to do too much promo for the Colts. I'm a Giants fan, but definitely check out the Colts next year. Check out my boy number 44 on the field. Thanks everybody once again for tuning in. I appreciate all the support on the Down to Business podcast, and catch us next time for a new episode.